and I'd like to thank Jarvis for the opportunity to speak today about Inside Out for Jesus and to thank you for listening. Jarvis and I met briefly the first time when I worked for Live Fund as the VP of Grants. He is one of their client success stories. And then we reconnected earlier this year at a fundraising workshop put on by SAGE, which is San Antonio, for growth on the east side, and you were there, Bobby. Jarvis was looking for funding for Inside Out for Jesus, and I had just started my business, Ascend, which is a grant writing firm. After that, we got together to discuss funding via grants, and through our conversations, I came to understand the significant barriers and the amazing success stories of those who were re-entering society after incarceration. Jarvis's story itself, which you've heard and you will continue to hear through the other speakers today, will move you, but there are many more people just like Jarvis who need the help of dedicated community organizations like Inside Out for Jesus and communities in general who will give them a second chance. Jarvis told me how he ministered to men on the inside through a prison support group. He brought them to the truth of Jesus and gave them hope. Education helped Jarvis leave behind the prison past and unlock his inspiring future as a counselor, anger management consultant, small business owner, employment facilitator, and nonprofit funder. From his own experience and those of fellow inmates that he saw re-entering the prison system, Jarvis created Inside Out for Jesus, which educates pre-release and formerly incarcerated individuals about how to break the barriers that they may encounter as they prepare for life outside of prison. As we sat down to strategize on a grant, Jarvis was moving things off his desk, and he had this pile of clothing. And as he moved the clothing, he told me why he had it in the first place. And I learned from that conversation that Jarvis drives around in his spare time, despite his businesses and the nonprofit itself. But he drives around to various thrift stores to secure articles of clothing and uniform pieces for people who will need them, and he does it with his own money. He stores these in a garden shed because, as he explained to me, everyone wants someone getting out of prison to get a job. But how do they do that if they don't have a place to live? What if they don't have an ID? How do they get an ID without an address? How do they know how to work the system? How can they get a job without that ID? And if they're fortunate enough to get a job, how can they afford a uniform? And then when they get that job, how can they stay in it if they don't understand the work culture? So these were a lot of questions that I didn't have answers to, but one organization that is working on the answers is Inside Out for Jesus. Amen. Their services include job training and employment preparation, mentoring, and connecting people to supportive services such as housing, employment, transportation, acquiring that ID, substance abuse programs, and mental health treatment. Assistance for children of inmates and families, to include clothing, food, and public benefits. In addition to providing these services, Inside Out for Jesus aims to form a coalition, many of you who are in the room right now, of community organizations that will help people after they've been released. Jarvis is always networking, he's always advocating, and he's always looking for resources to help the cause. In developing a funding strategy, the name itself, Inside Out for Jesus, may deter some funders. When I asked Jarvis how he felt about that, he said, then we don't need to get funding from them. Jesus got me through, and he will make a way. Amen. This speaks to his conviction as a man of God and knowing whose he is and where his success comes from. In working with Jarvis and Inside Out for Jesus, there is one thing that I know for sure. The only time Jarvis is ever looking down on someone is when he is extending a hand to help them up. We had a bet that I was going to go, and I'm not going to because I will not lose. This organization, at its core, is in the betterment business. Yes. Better individuals, better families, better citizens, better workers, all for a better community. Thank you for being here today and supporting Jarvis Moore and Inside Out for Jesus. Thank you.